I brought up the stream so that run it in the background, and it apparently I need to resubscribe, so I got an ad. But the
Right.
ad was for Audible Far Cry The Revolution. It's a prequel to Far Cry 5 audiobook. And
Oh.
so when I saw all of those concepts in one spot, I said, wait, what? Because what? There's a Far Cry audiobook?
Makes sense.
I mean, they're diversifying. There's a new Far Cry TV show.
Oh, wait,
Is
is
there?
there?
Like an anime, yeah, which is reviewing incredibly well.
Oh,
Bollocks.
to know.
Who's brought it? I don't remember who his like showrunner kind of thing. It might be Netflix. Is it Ravi Shankar, someone like that? Who's done it?
He did Castlevania.
Yes,
so.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
wow,
it is him. It is him. But supposedly, yeah, it's lots of people have said it's incredibly good. So there we go. I say lots of people. The few things I have seen. I'm being Donald Trump now.
Everybody says
everybody says it's says it's amazing. Like 2 people.
There's a Blood Dragon based.
Yes, so that's what it is. It's like it's a Blood Dragon based anime.
That's amazing. Captain Laserhawk, a Blood Dragon.
That's
remix.
it. That's it. Yes, perfect. Maybe we'll return to it and we'll watch it.
I mean, that makes a lot more sense than like I don't know, Far Cry 2 or something. like I was like, what anime is it? It's like guys in towers. Shoot.
Absolutely.
Video games have truly arrived.
They have. In the year of our Lord 2023. Not our Lord, someone else's fucking Lord, but who knows. Perfect. What a good place to start this episode of Tank Tap, episode 382. I'm one of your hosts, Ben, here with Aadil.
Hey.
And Lucy.
Hi.
And maybe in a future episode we will talk about that Blood Dragon Laser Hawk thing. Thanks for the subscription, Aadil. We may talk about that in a future episode, but for this week we'll probably just concentrate on some games because none of us have seen that, and unless anyone has, what is the new Castlevania Netflix show called? Nocturnal, something like that.
Nocturne or Nocturna.
Yeah.
I started it.
Nocturne. I started as well. I'm a couple episodes in.
Me too.
Yeah, I think I'm only about 2 or maybe 3. I don't know. But I need to get back to it.
Only 8 episodes. Yeah. I'm
just out of the time.
Oh, I'm actually only 2 episodes in.
Yeah,
so
me too. I'm at the same point. So maybe if we have some time over the next few weeks, maybe not next week, but in a few weeks, we might chat about that because we all enjoyed the first show that they put out. Four seasons of the first show that they put out, and I think Nocturne has already been renewed. I think Netflix have realised that making anime is a lot cheaper than making a live action show, so they're really quick to renew any anime that has like 2 or 3 viewers.
I mean, I get it, but it's like I don't know. It's crazy to me how good at studios are at like making things like this so quickly. It's like the amount of artistry, and I mean, especially in something like Castlevania, it looks really good. So just very surprising. It's like people still draw each cell hand by hand.
Do they? There's a lot of so there is some computer aiding stuff. Like one of the things that's finally happened was is the like backgrounding. A lot of that has been taken over by computers, but it's the ability to look seamless between the two. When it used to be like, oh yes, here are the cell shaded stuff in front of what's essentially a green screen and like blocky CGI, and now the blending is so well done that you actually don't know whether some parts are or aren't.
Exactly. Well, I can't tell. It's just like, oh, this is pretty.
Absolutely.
People are talented.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those where the studios pick up on it that little bit more. I think for like Disney, Willow was a massive money sink, and the same for Netflix with the Dark Crystal TV series that they did, like those you know, like
Yeah.
puppetry, practical effects, that kind of stuff. Really expensive. Anime, fucking just get someone to fucking draw it, man. Get ChatGPT to just draw up some fucking backgrounds. It's
No, you
fine.
mean
Don't worry about
Dolly.
it. Like, yeah, well, I don't fucking know AI shit. Yeah, whatever.
I
Whoever.
mean, that's what I say is that's the key about like the anime style especially is like next time you watch an anime, like just stare at either the mouths or right beside the mouths, and you'll see how little of the face moves.
Yes.
Right, like they've that art style is like was developed to like be affordable and mass produced, and so few parts of and because that's like a style now, right? You just so few parts of the scene actually move or change, but they figured out how to like make it feel natural. Even like how often people stop and are just talking, and it's like, oh right, so like you drew that one. Most of that is like one drawing, and then you're just adjusting a really small part on top of it.
Yeah.
In a way that like traditional Western animation tends to have movement all over the place.
Lots of limbs. Lots of G.I. Joe limbs.
Let's jump into some beers for this episode before we get to the games. Aadil, what are you drinking this evening?
I have something that I didn't know existed until a week or so ago.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It is the Trappist Rochefort Triple Extra. Oh, it is 2 years old. 3 years old. Now I understand. So here, it doesn't have flavor text. It is, but it does say 8.1%, and it says 1920, 2020. So this might have been like a, and I got it at the Hop Knocker, and he said it was around for a while. So this might have been like a anniversary release, which is why we might have missed it during 2020.
Sure, yeah.
None of us had seen this before, right?
Yeah.
I'll do some digging on that, but it's the Rochefort Triple Extra, 8.1%. For Rochefort 8, as we had just a couple weeks ago, actually. I said, still one of my favorite beers ever. And
this is the season for it, man. This is the season.
I've been fucking miserable all day here.
Yeah. And here. Yeah. Just across the country.
This whole island.
Pure misery. I am going to drink a supermarket beer. Because that's what
Dale Winton would be proud.
He would, absolutely. If I was on Supermarket Sweep, I'm straight in the alcohol section. Fuck the TVs. I don't need electronic shit. Just all the fucking booze. It's a Northern Monk beer from the supermarket. It's a Skull Boy, so I thought it was it's October. It's kind of topical. I don't know what that word says in the white circle.
It's so hard to make out.
Smurf or Smithies or Smize or something. But it's
I think I saw that one, and I was tempted. I was like, should I try some supermarket beer? Like the last time I was in the supermarket, I was like, nah.
Yeah. It's
I had
6%.
like 3 beers from America left. And
Absolutely. Yeah. It's 6%.
It's Smug.
Is that what it is?
Well, it says so on Morrison's website, Northern Monk Faith and Futures Cross Smug Double Dry Hop. IPA.
Okay. Was there a halo above? I thought there was an eye in it because there's like a halo.
Yeah, that's why I'm reading it and I was like, it's Smug, but there's a thing.
But what's interesting is that no flavor text tells me what that is. So with the the patrons,
really bad branding.
with the patrons project beers, where they have the label that folds out, they got the double layered label, which gives you either artwork from the artist that tells you about exactly what's going on. This basically just is Faith in Futures, drink beer, help others. Each can sold of this beer includes a donation to our Faith in Futures Foundation, and just goes on to talk about supporting communities and that kind of thing, and how much they've raised over the years. Without giving me anything at all about the beer itself. I get no ingredients past the general kind of list of stuff, which I imagine they have to include, and that is it. So I thought, intriguing. I got no information about this. It's Double Dry Hopped IPA. Let's see what it's like.
Going blind.
Yeah, absolutely. Lucy, you drinking this evening? I see you supping from a cup. You on the tea?
Yeah, just tea. I forgot to put my beer in the fridge.
Fair, absolutely fair.
Yeah.
We'll roll around to you then, Aadil, for initial impressions of the Roquefort.
I poured it a little, and it was a little heady, so I have only poured sort of half of this glass. But you can see it's got some haze in it. It's got some sediment. Maybe no, it's just a lightly effervescent clinging to the glass. It's this like golden straw color. The head is like, oh man, you can just smell those malts just by moving it.
Nice.
Yeah, it's nice. It's like a light. It's a very standard Belgian multi, multi but not multi, multi nose. It's like easily wafts, but isn't overpowering. If that makes sense. So like, if I put my nose in it, I'm not like, oh wow, but like it's got enough strength that like moving it around gives me the odd scent. Ooh.
Oh, that is a very good looking beer as well.
It's the double dip as well. It's the you know, you get that the initial flavour, and it's the going back to be like, is that what I just had?
Come on, make us jealous. Do it.
It's real good. It's got like a light citrusiness that I just wasn't expecting from a Roquefort. It's like yeah, almost like, how do I describe it? Almost like it's got like it's like a more of a blonde. It's lighter in character than even the 6. You know, because those are very heavier, like luxurious beers, and it still has that. The 8% and the mouthfeel is still like viscous, but it's also, again, you can see like that extra effervescence is a bit stronger than like more effervescent than I'm used to, and it's bring that citrus character out, and it's making it feel a little zippier.
Okay.
As in, like, it feels more carbonated than I'm used to Roquefort's beers, and so those lighter notes are coming out with the bubbles in a way, and the maltiness is sort of getting not suppressed, but it's just it doesn't feel as strong because I'm getting some of those hoppier characteristic coming out.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm just like trying to figure out how much I like it, and that's not a. It's like, oh, do I really, really like this, or do I just really like this?
It sounds like something that, like, because that you, as you say, like some of their beers are, as you say, luxurious, a bit rich, and sometimes a bit heavy as well. It's like you could probably only have like 1, maybe 2 of those. With this being a bit more carbonated and fruitier, could this be like, oh, I have 2 of these or 3 of these, maybe? It's like,
yeah, but not
is it on
that
that
many
level?
more. It still has. I think you're right.
Still heavy.
And I'm just gonna add on to that it still has that. It's still a Trappist or a Roquefort beer, so like, not just the 8%, but it still has that a pretty thick body to it. It just doesn't have the same one as like the 6, 8, or 10. So you wouldn't like go on a heavy session with these. No. You would still have only 2 or 3.
Yeah.
There's like
but without feeling like just.
Oh yeah, you wouldn't feel like bogged down or like.
Yeah.
Because that can happen in the sense of just like, oh, I've had so much heavy beer, I can feel it. No, like I said, the like citrus, there's a bit of a floral note to it, I think, too. And a slight
florally,
like a slight like a peppery spiciness, just a little bit right somewhere in the middle of the finish, where the citrus starts to fade, and before the like, this is an 8% beer sweetness sort of takes over the finish. There's just a slight hint of that pepper sort of spiciness that just evens it out. It's probably there the whole time. I'm just noticing it went right in that transition point of like citrus fade and multi sweet taking over.
Mm-hmm.
And also, speaking of that, like the finish is quite long. It's the malty sweetness and still quite light for this type of beer. Sweet malty finish in the way you would expect a Trappist. Yeah, this is really interesting. You guys have to. You guys are gonna have to try it.
Okay.
Find bottle and try.
Yeah, like I'm googling. Like I know one of my stores just sells like those beers, but I don't know if I mean I don't recall ever seeing that one. But I may go to the gym near there just to go.
Yeah, I mean, if you
more beers, I'm running.
If you
Well, I've
end
only
up
got one left.
coming down, I can check the Hop Knocker tomorrow to see if they still have any left, and I could bring one to Bristol.
Yeah.
It's
If
good
it's
idea.
like,
If we sync up there.
if you guys haven't seen it, I think you would have noticed it. Like
Yeah,
in the
like,
shops.
it's purple, isn't it? Is it? Is it
Yeah,
purple?
like it's a purple.
Yeah, I would have noticed the little
cannon
purple.
dot in the way that the Trappist has the green, red, and blue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The 6, 8, and 10.
Yeah, look.
Not in that order.
I mean, their
it's
latest
red,
post
blue.
is some Orval beer, so I should go anyway.
That must be soon. Orville Day must be soon.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Generally,
I
in
will
October.
say that it still being quite carbonated but like initial taste being lighter is meaning I like took bigger sips than I normally would a beer of this heaviness,
Sure.
and then literally apologies, I did burp, and I don't know if it got in the mic, but like it was like a sigh type burp, you know, where you're just like you're breathing out and then suddenly it's like, oh, I'm also expelling.
Orval Day is in March, but every day's an Orval Day.
It could be, absolutely, yeah, good.
But yeah,
Should
this is it's like weirdly, it's like if a blonde Rochefort.
Yeah.
I mean, that sounds like something that I want to drink now. Yeah.
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 Interesting that it's
I think
called...
my hesitation was just because I didn't get it. Like it was very strange. But what'd you say? Sorry.
Interesting that it's called Triple Extra. Expecting it to be maybe a bit bigger than the others, rather than maybe like a blonde and a little bit maybe lighter and stuff. But yeah. Cool.
I'm not sure what the extra means.
No.
Extra combination.
I'm sure we could find out.
Extra good.
Do some internet
searches. It's an extra strong blonde beer. Sorry, I'm on Trappist.be.
Right, okay.
In 1920, well before the production of the famous Trappist Rochefort 6, 8, 10 in the 50s, the monks at Rochefort brewed an extra strong blonde beer and continued brewing it for several years. Now, 100 years later, the monks are very happy to offer a strong blonde beer inspired by the original recipe. So that's what it is.
Oh, nice. Fair. Nice.
Bring back that recipe.
Enjoyed in its Rochefort glass, served at 69 degrees Celsius. Sorry, guys.
And you didn't? How dare you?
I don't have one of these glasses, Lucy.
Besmirch. I don't think I do either. I've got a delirium one, but I don't know.
I've got Rochefort glass at my mum's house.
It's quite like like a short, squat oval.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so they say, golden blonde color, rounded taste, notes of citrus and spicy fragrance.
So you've hit the mark with what you're experiencing. Perfect.
And I'm not even having the right glass.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the Financial Post review of Mario.
Oh. Yeah, because I dropped it in the chat.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, I haven't seen it until now. I was just like, it's like,
if we were if we needed stuff, I wanted to talk about that insane review.
Cool. Well, let's jump into my beer. I've got a couple of games to talk about which are quite swift, so maybe we will get into that. This Northern Monk and Smug, as we have discovered, double dry hopped IPA, does have a big nose. You get that it's double dry hopped off of that. A nice kind of malty, maybe a little bit of toffee in that nose. But piles and piles of fruit, piles and piles of like grapefruit in that nose as well. It's big. It's quite a big nose, which is great for a supermarket beer because normally, in terms of the nose and stuff, they fall quite flat. Flavor wise, I'll let you look at the beer as I describe it. It's an interesting flavor. It's got some sweet fruit. It doesn't necessarily scream grapefruit like the nose does straight off. It's a little bit more subtle than that. There's a couple of things going on in that flavor, a couple of different fruits in there, but they're blended very well together, which makes it really hard to pick out a specific kind of fruit that's happening. But it also comes and goes quite quickly. I think as we experience with lots of supermarket beers, like the flavour might hit quite high, but disappears really quickly. This sticks around enough to flow quite nicely into a little bit of a piney finish. And the piney finish sticks around. It's not quite pine, it's a little bit more smoky, a little bit more ashy than pine as a bitterness going on. And that fruity kind of flavour, as I say, disappears quite quickly, but it's long lasting enough that I'm kind of satisfied with it. That I don't think, cool, I've got to go back and experience that lovely fruity start to this beer again. It's not dry enough that it's got me chomping. It's not chewy enough that it's got me chomping to go back to it straight away. To have a little bit more, that I'm too dried out to kind of, continue and want to wet my palate that little bit more. It's kind of very middling as a beer, but in the right sort of ways. In the way that it's like, I can drink this. This is perfectly acceptable. This cost me £3 and is absolutely fine. And it's maybe slightly higher than the standard kind of supermarket fare that you get. Maybe not much more, but it's doing enough that I think if I saw this again in the supermarket and I'm picking from the range of 3 for 2 or 4 for 3 or whatever that deal kind of is, I think I'd get one of these again. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. I'll grab that alongside, whatever other beers there are that I'm kind of going, drawn to that little bit more. So it probably sits in that top end of Morrison's supermarket beers, but not much more than to say, yes, that's where it lives, and it's not doing much more than kind of just scraping the barrel of being a reasonable kind of beer and not doing anything special. But I'll return to it at the end of the episode and see if it grows on me any more. Let's jump into games. Oh no, go on, please.
I did a quick search and I know what Smug is.
Okay.
Smug is an internationally renowned artist known for his realistic large-scale mural installations, takes inspiration from people and nature, exploring the harmony and the relationship between the two. With his trademark understanding of light and shadow, Smug's painting can often juxtapose themes together, such as death, playfulness, melancholy, and unadulterated joy. While his technique stays true to his foundation with traditional graffiti, Smug's murals can be seen as stylized realism with hyper-realistic elements achieved freehand, primarily with spray paint. He did an entire series with Northern Monk. The series 11.
Yeah, so that patrons.
Patrons. And so presumably they then recollabed for the charity one.
Sure.
Which is Faith in whatever it was. Shit.
Faith in Futures.
Futures, yeah. Anyway, I just thought we'd provide the information. Yeah,
good,
anyway,
good.
Games.
Nice way to round out that the beer. Yes, we finished last episode with me mentioning I've been playing the Callisto Protocol. I was going to say Callisto Project, but it's not. Callisto Protocol. And I'll spend 5 minutes just talking about it. Because it is the perfect...
Never a good conversation that starts with it.
It's the perfect PlayStation Plus, Game Pass kind of game.
Game Pass is getting Dead Space remake
mate,
this month.
Good. Well, because I think that is probably a better experience.
Yeah.
From my memory of Dead Space, and from my memory of the first game, it is better than Callisto Protocol. And I don't know where Callisto Protocol has fallen down in terms of what they have tried to achieve, whether they didn't have enough time, whether they didn't have enough money, whether they had to pad it out a little bit because they didn't have enough ideas, potentially. But Callisto Protocol is it's a slight palette swap for Dead Space. But in all essence, it is the same game. It's a third-person action shooter where you are walking around a space thing, installation, station, base, planet side building, shooting at infected humans and zombies and things. Callisto Protocol doesn't hit the same heights as Dead Space. Yeah, for lots of reasons. Mostly in terms of scare factor. Like Dead Space, when I played Dead Space the first time, I remember the shock value of some of their kind of set pieces. Things happened and you're like, fuck, okay, cool. I haven't jumped once at the Callisto Protocol.
Oh, really?
Stuff has happened, but it's so telegraphed that I'm like, I know that it's coming, and it does. And I'm like, you haven't got me because I know that it's coming. The enemy design in Dead Space worked quite well in terms of the evolution of the enemies. Not just that the same enemy gets harder, they evolve, they are different, you have different types. They are frightening. And the Callisto Protocol kind of follows a similar sort of path, but gets to a point where you're like, zombie, slightly harder zombie, slightly bigger zombie, shooty zombie.
Oh yeah, because isn't it like you're set on like a? Is it like you're in a prison? You're in a prison. Yeah, and so it's zombies, isn't it?
So it's like inmates, space zombies. It's inmates. It's guards who have a little bit of armor, so they're a little bit harder to take down. It's slightly more rotund inmates. It's then inmates who have evolved slightly to spit acid at you, and then it
sounds like PS3 era.
It basically rinse and repeats.
B game.
But it basically says, here is the inmate. But suddenly they have tentacles that come out of them, and they turn into a slightly steroided up version of the inmates, which are they'll kill you in 2 hits rather than 4 hits.
Right.
Like, it's a little bit cheap in terms of the
AI pathing or like
not really. You fight a boss about halfway through, and then that becomes not a main enemy, but almost like a checkpointing kind of enemy. You're like, I've got into a space, I'm definitely going to get this 2-headed zombie again. So it's very easily readable. And part of the problem with that comes in that there's a lot of empty space. There's a lot of dead space in the Callisto Protocol. And that is either walking through empty corridors, it's moving through like ducts, and I don't know whether this has got to do with like loading of the game. You move through a duct to load the next kind of area in, and that sort of stuff. But there's a lot of that. There's a lot of traversal through these spaces, and not even good traverse, not platforming. It's not in any way interesting traversal. It is just moving through the space to get to the next space and having a 10-second time of
like
just moving
God of
through
War
it.
Squeezing through the wall.
Exactly the same. Yeah, absolutely. This is longer. It's longer. It's like a 10-second. I've gone along the duct. I've gone round a corner and moved up the next bit. I've gone round another corner and moved to the next bit. There's not a zombie in the duct. There might be a body that gets dragged along and pulled out of shot slightly. As just some visual cue, but there's nothing. I'm
just imagining that sequence in Alien where he's just crawling through the vents and then nothing happens. It's just like there's no alien at the end.
Yeah.
He turns around. He's like, "Oh, I'll keep going."
All right. Yeah. Cool. Fine. Oh, I escaped. It's great. Well, there was no alien all along. It's fine.
No.
There are good parts. There are good parts of the Callisto Protocol. There are some sequences. There are some areas which are not difficult, but they up the difficulty slightly. They test you a little bit based on sort of what you've been doing. They drag in certain elements, so there is a you can pull things, items, and enemies towards you with this kind of glove that you've got, and then launch them. And there's lots of various bits in the environment to spike them on or throw them into fans and those sorts of things. But again, few and far between in terms of when you can actually use those kinds of mechanics. And I relied much more on the... You get this like baton, which the guards have, which you can upgrade through the game. But I relied a lot more on that and this kind of melee back and forth. And the game has an interesting dodge mechanic in that you don't realistically dodge. You hold either left or right, and you have to alternate between them to get out of the way of the enemy's attacks. So the enemy attacks you, you hold left, and he'll dodge to the side. If the enemy attacks you a second time and you're holding left, it will hit you, so you have to switch to pressing right. So you have to, like, almost like you're boxing, you have to kind of like duck between between the left and the right sort of hits. But again, telegraphed in a way that I'm like, this enemy does that 3 times. Left, right, left. R2, 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 and you bash and bash and bash and bash. And it does get a little bit tedious. Absolutely. Especially when you get into a space where you have to face 10 enemies. And you get like one comes at you and like, cool, I've done that. And then 2 come at you and like, cool, I'll shoot the first one. I'll then melee and dodge the second one. Oh, great, another 2 have come at me. Oh, a bit low on ammo. I will pick one up with my glove and I'll throw it so it goes further away, even if I've got to then attack this one with the melee and then attack that one with the melee. Or I'll pick up a canister that I can explode them with and stuff. It tries to be versatile, but it isn't really. And I think it's just a bit of a... I think the game in general is just a bit of a slog. And it doesn't hit the same... And they wanted to. They absolutely wanted to hit the same feel that Dead Space gave people as a, very recent game. This game only came out last year. But it just doesn't hit the same heights in any way. Nothing of this game is better than Dead Space.
It's just a bit crazy considering like the people who were heading it.
What's the original?
Dead
absolutely,
Space.
they made Dead Space. Yeah, completely. I mean, it's got some interesting
stuff. To be
stuff.
so off the mark is quite interesting.
So, absolutely, and as I say, it's got some interesting stuff. The weapon upgrade is only interesting in the fact that they're like, cool, this world 3D print stuff. So you put your gun in the 3D printer, and we 3D print an extra ammo magazine on it, which allows you to have more ammunition in the chamber for the gun. That's an interesting mechanic, which is completely superfluous and doesn't mean anything. It's just an aesthetic that they have decided to put on to make you feel like you're upgrading your weapons, essentially, rather than just like, check the box, it is done. It's just an animation which makes you think, cool, that's all right. And the game is it's like that. The game is very full of fluff. So yeah, I think you'd be much better placed if you have Game Pass to play Dead Space Remake when it comes out.
Which I might do in the next year or however long it's on the service, because I got about a third of the way through it on PC, but because of what's EA's client called? I don't even know.
EA Play?
Sounds about right.
Oh, I think EA Play's been removed and it's just called the EA app.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
but
also
whatever that thing is, I had to keep like
tied into Steam now or something. Was in there like
Oh yeah. Well, I know that they brought all their games to Steam eventually.
They did.
Yeah.
As a very slight tangent, I remember Aadil 2-ish years ago when we were playing Battlefield. No, not Battlefield. Battlefront 2.
Front 2. Well, not Battlefront 2, but Battlefront 2.
Like through Steam, through Epic Game Store, but on that redirects you to like that redirects you to the EA app.
which at the time was EA Play.
Yes.
But EA Play got replaced by EA App. But I think you don't need it, and it doesn't need to be in the middle anymore either? Question mark.
Okay.
So
anyway, that save, I had to keep repairing the save data, and I was like, I can't be asked with this every single time. You know what I mean? It's just like, so I gave up. But I was having a good time until then. So I might just feel like I'll play the. I mean, I own the original on Xbox, but I'm sure is it when they ran out of games with gold to give us. I'm sure they gave us that one. So, but I might just play the remake at this point. It's got better quality of life.
Yeah, absolutely,
features.
absolutely. I think it's definitely one that if anyone is interested in that style of game, like Dead Space was a almost genre-defining moment. That 2, sure, 3 was atrocious because they tried to shoehorn a multiplayer, pay-to-win kind of experience into that series, basically.
Callisto Protocol had like. What was it? Pay to get like different killing emotes or something like that.
Maybe
different stomp emotes or something.
There's definitely some pay
or
to get different
death animations, wasn't it?
There's different pay to get different weapons.
Right.
There is a DLC for it.
Yeah.
So what's really annoying about the Callisto Protocol is that the ending of the game sets up the DLC.
It?
I finished it. Yeah, I finished it.
Oh wow! How long was it?
Oh, I've got no idea. I played it over
5 hours, but it felt like 50.
It really did. But also because I'm playing it in like 10 or 20 minute, 30 minute chunks, I'm not getting a big playtime on many.
Yeah.
Right.
It really felt like a slog. Like suddenly I'm moving through an area, and the character for the 10th time will break the walkway that he's walking on and fall down into a different area, and I'm like, no, the chapter should be over. Don't have another 10 minutes of me moving through this extra bit. It is that. It's just extension for the sake of wanting to push those that playtime kind of through a little bit.
Metrics.
Don't get me wrong, I love Uncharted 4. It's a fantastic game, but at the end of it, it was just like, oh my god. Wrap up. We need an editor.
Yes, very much. It's like, I'm done with this. Who playtested this? Who sat there and was like, yes, more please. But the game ends and sets up the DLC. I'm like, well, why did the game end there and not like why have we got this extra chapter in the game, or why have these chapters been extended in the game? Why not just have this as part of it? Obviously, because monetary purposes.
DLC?
It is paid DLC.
Oh, well, that's even worse.
Yes.
Say if it was free or something, but like maybe they ran out of time.
It's not. The game leaves you with this kind of the way you think the game is going to end, with this kind of ambiguous, did he survive or didn't he survive kind of thing. Was fine for the people who played it the first time around who didn't know the DLC existed. But then suddenly there's DLC about it. Yes, of course he survived because there's DLC, and you get to now play another 3 hours of the same fucking shit all over again. But not only that, the ending of the game tells you that he survived, and I'm like, no, just cut that bit. Just go back to the bit that was more ambiguous. That should have been where the game finished, rather than suddenly this extra video message that he had that he's alive still. I'm like,
sounds great.
And I looked at it. I'm like, I was like, do I want to play this? It's 50% off on PlayStation Store at the moment. It's like £4, and I'm like,
oh, that's not bad. That's not bad.
And I went onto the store and I looked at it and I'm like, no, I didn't enjoy this game. It's the same shit. I don't want to do this, so I just left it.
Watch a Let's Play.
Exactly. Well, I don't even care enough to watch a Let's Play. Don't care
the
enough.
last 10 minutes of a Let's Play.
Absolutely. All I want to watch is the last scene of the DLC to know what the actual final thing of the game was.
Just see it like this, Ben. Imagine how even worse it would be if it was still tied in with the PUBG universe.
What?
It was meant to be like in the PUBG universe.
Yeah, it's made by Krafton, isn't it? Published by Krafton. So like, yeah.
No, because that's dumb
Yes.
and foolish.
Yes. And that's probably why they dropped whatever that was.
Why?
Was there a chicken dinner at the end of it waiting for you at least?
I mean, that would have been at least comical for me to
Yeah,
be
that
like,
should have been the
I
end of the
get that,
game.
I get that joke.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, okay.
You're not free from prison, but here's a chicken dinner.
Yeah, go back to your cell and eat this chicken
Yeah.
dinner. Like, but I didn't win. Let's move on from the Callisto Protocol. Big thumbs down from me, unfortunately.
No, I'm glad that we got to hear about it because I was very interested. So I'm sated now. I'm
Good,
sated.
good. I did say off air to the two of you that I try and be short and sharp with this episode. We've got a few more things to roll through. So, the other thing I wanted to talk about was the Steam Next Fest, because I have had a chance to play a bunch of different demos. I will just tell you what they all are, and then I will talk about one of them. So, I have played the Bonfire 2, Uncharted Shores. Didn't play the Bonfire 1. I don't know if it's a similar kind of thing, but it's a city builder, more survival-esque kind of game. I played Tempest Rising, which is a Command and Conquer style RTS. I played Songs of Silence, which I'll talk about in a minute. That's the one I like the most. I played The Last Faith, which is a Metroidvania, pixel art Metroidvania, which I didn't really like. The pixel art for the icons drove me insane.
Oh, really?
They're so detailed that they're shit.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like, I'm like, what am I looking at? Like, you've tried to make this incredibly baroque and elaborate pixel art icon for just like a health injection that I don't know what I am looking at. So yeah, I didn't.
You should play Blasphemous.
I mean, Blasphemous doesn't. Like,
well, I had no idea what I was looking at in those games. I was like, what?
We have got to that point, haven't we? Yeah. Where pixel art has to be so intricate now that it doesn't. It just doesn't
well, I don't think it
mean
has
anything.
To be. Like, you can have like really big blocky and it looks good. But yeah, I played the demo for this. And I was like, yeah, this is scratching an itch, and all I needed to see was this photo, which I've put in for you, which is just basically, if you show me a map, a Metroidvania map, I'm like, yeah, I'm in.
Done.
Yeah.
I'll play that.
Done. Yeah. I don't need more than that.
Good.
I'm in. I'm sold.
And the last one I played, or actually the first one I played, was ridiculously titled Warhammer Age of Sigmar Realms of Ruin, which is again another RTS. If anyone has played Dawn of War, which is a game that came out fucking years ago, but was an RTS set in the Warhammer 40k universe, this is basically that, but just set in the fantasy universe. And you play through the campaign as the Stormcast Eternal faction. And I've seen lots of videos saying, here are the other factions that we're bringing out, and it looks great. Like, this is a game I will play. I don't really need to play the demo to know that this is something I'm interested in, but playing the demo has made me go, cool, I like the things that this is doing, I will play this game. But the one I wanted to talk about a little bit in depth was a game called Songs of Silence, which is... It's not an RTS. It's a mix of, like, large-scale map kind of overview, 4X kind of strategy, but with this kind of grand battle system built into it. So basically, you are a roving kind of band. Your homeland has been taken over by this invading force, and you are displaced, and you need to find something else. And the start of this game is you kind of trying to find, or the demo at least, is you trying to find this place to call kind of home. You go and help a neighboring kingdom get rid of these enemies and stuff. And the interesting thing is the battle kind of system. in that it is
I just read the
not.
description. I'm just like, I don't even know what this means.
Yeah, it's not quite
I
like.
can't conceive it.
It's not kind of like the Total War style of you command each individual unit, you tell them where to go, you place them on the kind of map. Like, you'll get into a battle and the units that you've got will do the thing that they are going to do, but you then have abilities, and these abilities are just shown. They're just represented by cards. It hasn't got card mechanics. They're just represented by cards, basically. It could just be a press of a button to do mechanic number 1. But you have this, I can send a firebolt, or I can crash a meteor into this space, and these things just regenerate kind of through the battle, basically. But the interesting thing is more the back and forth with the other armies in the world, in this kind of more, and it's not a 4X style kind of grand strategy sort of thing. It's not like Civilization, it's not like Endless Legend. It isn't like go and find new areas, make a new city, upgrade that city. It's more like I have this group of people, this army, and everything relies on the character in the army. That is the generator of these abilities. I can send that character into a city, and they might have the ability to upgrade that city. So suddenly I can spend some points, I can spend some resource to upgrade that city, increase its defenses, give me something else which might give me more resources. And it's the back and forth between defending that city from this invading force and then progressing further with the characters and pushing them into enemy territory and taking that kind of over. It's got a little bit more to it than just a standard kind of 4X or RTS. It's almost a little bit of a game kind of in between the two, which is really interesting because nothing has quite hit that space yet. And I think what pulls me to Songs of Silence is it has a very similar art style to the Banner Saga, and which I absolutely loved. And the Banner Saga again had an overview, a narrative overview, moving across this map, moving through these spaces, and then a different battle system, which was a lot more granular than Songs of Silence is, and played more with you've got 4 characters, and the characters all have abilities, and you position them on the battlefield. Whereas this is, I've got an army of 8 different units, and they will just go into battle and do kind of stuff. You know, the chaotic kind of nature of just battle and allowing units to do what they kind of do. And at the moment, I don't know when Songs of Silence comes out. I don't think it has a release date. So it'd be interesting to see how this develops. But I would imagine the demo that I played is very close to what the final game is going to be. But I've wishlisted it. It is kind of like my big pick for the for the Steam Next Fest. I'm glad I found it during the Next Fest because this would have flown under my radar completely. I haven't seen anything written about this game at all. And like PC Gamer or Eurogamer, those kinds of places that you kind of expect to see a little bit more coming out of this. So very, very hot on Songs of Silence from Chimera Entertainment, self-publishing as well, who have made Word Wonders, The Tower of Babel, and Mystery of a word I can't pronounce, Neuschwanstein, perhaps, neither of which I have any knowledge of. They both came out in 2015. Never heard of them before. So yeah, Songs of Silence is my pick from Steam Next Fest.
You've reminded me when Next Fest is happening.
It has happened. It's done.
Well, I mean, you can still download the demo.
Absolutely. Right? Lots of games have extended their demos massively. Yeah. I have played, so like the Bonfire 2, I played after Steam Next Fest. If you go to the store and you go to categories and demos, there are a ton of stuff up there that have continued on from Steam Next Fest still. So there's a bunch of games that I'm kind of interested in that I, again, haven't quite found the time to look at the demo for.
I've still got Steam Fest demos from like 2 years ago to just get ready to play. Not enough time. But they're all set there on
Absolutely.
on my hard drive. Just waiting.
Good. Waiting until the game, like 2 weeks before the game releases. You're like, I should play that demo just to see if I'm
Yeah,
interested
that's
in
usually
this
what
game.
happens. It's like it comes out. It's like, am I still interested in this? Let me try to check it out. Like I can't remember. There was a game recently I did that for. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. I can't remember. Not even gonna bother try to.
Fair.
Too late for my brain to work.
I also played Pioneers of Pagonia, which is again
These are
another,
all very Ben games.
again another kind of like city builder, but from the team that originally did the Settlers. So it tries to be different in the way it's doing a city builder. Very similar. Actually, the Bonfire 2 is very similar in its kind of mechanics and how you assign different things to different things, but nothing that's that kind of groundbreaking. Pioneers of Pagonia's got a really nice art style, but that's kind of the main thing to say about it. But nothing I played really held a candle to Songs of Silence. The one that is a bit different is called Forgive Me Father 2, which is an
that's
FPS,
in early access, isn't
which
it?
is in early access, which has a great art style. It's like this cel-shaded comic book kind of art style. It's great. Made me like, I don't get motion sickness,
That's
but
good.
this game made me feel rough.
Oh,
Really?
jeez.
Yeah.
Lucy, stay away.
Well,
Because the movement speed.
I can give you tips, Ben, on
Mate,
what
I had
settings
to turn the movement speed down, the cursor speed down so much, just to stop me being like fucking everywhere.
I feel like when I play most FPSs, apart from good ones like Call of Duty, 60 FPS. Plus, when there's something, do you have like guns on the screen in Forgive Me Father, or can you see that? Or
yes.
Yeah, that usually helps.
Yeah, it does allow you to kind of like ground yourself in that sort of sense. Like there are known elements. It's not just like full shift. But yeah, I think it's the sort of cel-shaded art style doesn't translate well to swift movement around.
Yeah.
So yeah.
To be honest, when I was playing Proteus, I think now and then I couldn't play for too long basically, but I was playing that in little stints anyway. Good level by level thing. But yeah. Well, welcome. You're old now.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Absolutely. So we that's it for me for all of the things that I've been experiencing this week. Lucy, I know we hit on a few things that you had played last week, so I want to give Aadil the floor.
No, definitely. I thought you were going to ask me what I've played, and it's really nothing
good.
of any worth to anybody. I've been playing Space Harrier.
Amazing.
Great.
Oh, mate, no, that's worth talking
about.
about.
Oh, my God. No. Now I'm annoyed. I want to hear more about Space Harrier.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about Space
Harrier.
Talk about
it.
I don't have a lot to say. Why don't I just do my thing and you'll see there's time afterwards.
Okay, you go first, Aadil. Yeah.
I have been wall-to-wall working for a while, had some personal things going on, and I finally played Steam Deck in bed, and just randomly was like, I apparently installed Tengami, that game from 2015.
Oh, wow.
Their name rings a bell.
Tengami is an atmospheric adventure game set inside a Japanese pop-up book. Fold and slide the
Oh,
beautiful
yes.
interactive paper world to solve puzzles and discover secrets.
I
It's
played this on
real pretty,
iOS.
real simple, and exactly what I wanted to do when I was half wanting to be asleep. So it's literally like you're in a pop-up book and you're wandering around and you are like an origami person. So like it's mostly just walking left and right. And sometimes you have some notion of depth up and down the page. That makes sense, because again, it's just a fold-out book. But when you turn, you see your legs are clearly folded. It's a really nice touch. That you see like the whites of the paper sort of poke out, because the outside of you is colored, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And it's real pretty. The puzzles thus far, I've played maybe I don't even know how long it takes, but I played maybe like an hour of it. And it's just
It's short, yeah.
Actually, let me just do a quick how long to
From
beat.
what I remember, because I played it on iOS, it couldn't have probably been like 2-3 hours, no more than that.
It's an
Probably.
hour and a half.
Yeah.
Main story and main and extras, hour 36 minutes. That's so funny. I love how long to beat. So the
So
main
good.
story is polled 96 people, took an hour and 29 minutes on average. 111 people did completionist, hour and 28 minutes.
They're just efficient, aren't they?
Brilliant.
And
like,
then all
"You
play
noobs."
styles, 222 people did it in an hour and 29. So it's an hour and a half. It's so functionally an hour and a half. So yeah, and like the puzzles don't get really hard. It's mostly straightforward, but again, it's like an experiential walk through the art. A lot of it is like the nice, like, oh, I know I'll have to flip this thing over, and then it'll unfold in papercrafty pop-up book way. And so I don't think the puzzles are really designed to challenge so much as give you this experience of the art style. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
It's so fun, which I think is a really cool design thing. Once I realized that I wasn't really playing a puzzle game, I was playing my way through a book that's interactive that has puzzles to show the bookishness of it, if that makes sense.
Sure.
Yeah.
So much of the puzzle choices seem to be very much informed by this is a pop-up book, and I'm going to make you feel like it's a pop-up book, rather than I'm going to make you have to discern this thing. I'm not saying the puzzles are dumb or really straightforward.
No.
I'm just saying the drive is reinforcing the aesthetic. It's so much of the lifeblood of this game is the aesthetic, and I think it's such a well-designed game in that sense because the puzzles just ring true on this is a pop-up book.
Yeah, they complement the experience. Yeah. I remember enjoying it a lot when I played it. Probably way back. Yeah, probably around 2015, 2016.
Yeah, probably right when it came out because it seems like such a Lucy game.
Yeah.
And
probably
worth noting.
Check my spreadsheet.
Yeah, worth noting because we have spoken about Astrologaster, same studio who made that game, and you can absolutely see.
It was the same studio.
Yeah, you can absolutely see the evolution
because of the
from
bundle.
Tengami into Astrologaster.
Astrologaster's so good.
The visual style and how things present themselves.
Yeah, that was a good game.
You can get a bundle. You can get both games currently for 15% off, for just under £15 if you don't have either.
Well, I've got Astrologaster. The cheapest that's been is £5 on Steam.
Wow, really?
And on
I mean, that's
£1.74 is for Tengami. It was the cheapest ever time.
Yeah, so I don't own Astrologaster, but it's regularly $9.99. But if I buy the bundle currently, I get the whole. I get it for $8.50.
It looks like I mean it's been on sale a lot, so Astrologaster will probably go on sale pretty soon. I mean I love this extension, Steam DB or whatever it is. Yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah, but
I just wanted to say I'm finally playing games again, and this was such a nice like. Oh right, I can just fuck around in my bed and just like, oh yeah, I'm moving around. And I have so many games like this that are not like need all my attention type sort of things.
Not too intensive that you have to be present just all the time to do it. Yeah, absolutely. Good.
The DLC is a soundtrack. I was like, is that DLC? Do I play it? Yeah, it's just soundtrack.
Yeah. For those who are unfamiliar with that, it's in the same sort of vein, I suppose, as something like Monument Valley would be. Maybe like one of the bigger kind of games. You know, you're moving across you're moving through the space to manipulate it in a way. Very different kind of art style, but similar in terms of its kind of mechanics.
Deal said like, just a vehicle for prettiness.
Yes,
but there's still substance to the puzzles.
Yes,
in both of those games. It's not just style over substance.
Interestingly, Steam, I got Tengami up, and it says, "Is this game relevant to you? Similar to Return of the Obra Dinn?" It's not, but I did
I like those games.
I did see a tweet from Lucas Pope. Return of the Obra Dinn is 5 years old.
Yeah.
Still haven't played it.
Yeah, but what? I'm sure that game came out last year.
5 years?
Where is this time? Where is
I thought it was like
gone?
2 or 3 years old.
Like, yeah, absolutely. Not 5
You know,
years.
I can tell the time because it's like I want more and I'm craving more of something as good as that. Like Case of the Golden Island is very good, but it didn't reach the heights of Return of the Obra Dinn. So I feel it. I feel that 5 years.
Well, at least when Lucas Pope did mention that it had been 5 years, he did say he's in the weeds of his new game, which hopefully means it's very, very close.
He was meant to be making a game for Playdate.
Oh, really?
Oh, I remember, because that was one of the reasons you were like hyped about Playdate. You're like, I know at least this is coming.
Yeah.
Did he never make it?
You know what? I'd rather him focus on his main game and just bring that out quicker. You know, because whilst a Playdate game would probably be very good. I mean, everything he makes is good. I'm happy to sacrifice that for whatever the next big thing he's working on.
Good. Playdate seems like a good segue into just mentioning Analog, and that they're making a box to play N64 games, which seems
for me.
Yes, it seems like Analog seem to be doing being in an interesting space of not quite emulation.
No, that's why I'm like, how? Yes, you've got the carts, but
yeah, that's actually.
But like, isn't it really hard to like emulate N64 games?
No, not anymore. We have the processing power.
I think it's kind of like
Dolphin's been out for a while, right?
Yeah,
and it's been.
But I meant like on a device like that, like it's not like the Analog Pocket that I have, where it's like, you just load stuff onto it with will you be able to do that with whatever architecture that is? I mean, yeah, because it's SGPA. I don't know. I don't.
It's kind of living in the space of Sega, of PlayStation, of all of these companies making these like mini classic consoles which come out with 20 games on or something like that. Actually, Analog filling in a space of being like, hooking up an N64 is fucking difficult these days. You haven't got the right cables, you've got to have all of these adapters, you've got to fuck around with stuff. Here's a box to play N64 stuff.
Maybe I was thinking of GameCube is harder to emulate.
I could see GameCube being harder to emulate.
I got those mixed up in my head because I don't care about either of those consoles.
But just like as a product, it kind of fits with what Analog have done. You know, going from Game Boy to N64, absolutely. But it's an interesting target market, I suppose, of being like, who is interested in an N64? Loads of people.
There'll be enough.
Of course, there's loads of people that are interested in this. Who's interested in playing N64 stuff now without the hassle of an N64? Every single person. Everyone is interested in that. So it's the kind of space that Analog kind of sit in is really, really interesting.
It's great. Like, don't get me wrong, I don't care about the N64, but I think this is brilliant. Like, it's like, I mean, you can just move on to Space Harrier. Well, I didn't find them, but on my behalf, someone found like all my uncle's old game consoles, like the ones that I had as a kid, and it's like. I was reading about like converters, and I was like, and I was like, oh, this one that converts like you know, RT, composite, SCART, and everything into 4K, which isn't out yet. Yeah, and I was like, ooh, and I was just like, I wonder how much this will be. And they were like, just put aside $1,000, and then you might be happy with what we actually launch it. And I was like, maybe not. But my TV still has. I remember this because I remember hooking up my PS1 or 2 or something like that. But it still has SCART. You know, I still had to remember, like, oh gosh, yeah, this still has analog channels. It's all just digital. I was like, okay, I don't know how to use this television. But I managed to, you know, find you know, analog signal, and that's how I'm able to play the Sega Master System 2. So yeah, that was my tinkering this week.
Nice.
Yeah, and other tinkering that I probably can't say online.
Oh, interesting.
About Mario's.
Which Mario's? Yeah. Which Mario's? Is it the Mario's that there's an article to maybe briefly touch on? Okay. Should we briefly touch then on the article?
Yeah, because I just saw it in the chat.
It was great.
I haven't played much because you know, frame rate is an issue, and frame rate is I'm having to tinker. But yeah, that's not what I thought. A couple, like 10 minutes I was playing.
The article we're speaking about is the Financial Post review of Super Mario Brothers Wonder for the Switch. They gave it an 8.5 out of 10. Should I just read it?
Absolutely.
How else?
Yeah, okay. So, the older I get, the more I see the nearly 40-year-old Mario franchise as a metaphor for class conflict. The privileged elite, light-skinned men and women, including Mario, Luigi, Daisy, and Princess Peach, live in vibrant kingdoms with glimmering castles atop hills surrounded by beautiful gardens and villages filled with smiling servants known as toads. Most Mario games begin with Bowser, king of the have-nots, rising up and attempting to take something he covets, bracket, like the beautiful Princess Peach, bracket. And they typically end with Mario and his aristocratic friends as the victors, having subdued the rebellion and sent Bowser and his minions back underground. The latest of these games, Super Mario Bros. Wonder, is no different. It's the Flower Kingdom that's under siege by the disenfranchised monster masses rather than the Mushroom Kingdom, and a few servant class characters have been charitably elevated to heroes, but the themes of class struggle are the same. Thing is, it injects so much dopamine into my little monkey brain that any intellectual qualms I may have are effectively quashed as long as a controller is in my hands. Put more plainly, Nintendo really knows how to make a fabulous fun run to the right game.
I mean, he's not wrong in all of those things, but
I mean, I think he is in some of it. But
what a way to frame it.
Who thinks that when you play that
game?
I'm sure, like some of it has merit, but when you're playing that game, how does any of it?
I mean, it's
I was thinking is like Mario's getting real high off these mushrooms and all these magic plants that make the world go woo. So, is it out yet?
No, October 20th.
No, maybe tomorrow.
That's tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Oh yeah, and this post tomorrow. So yes, Mario. Yeah.
Yes. I mean,
I don't like how chatty it is.
Really?
You have all these flowers talking to you, we're like, hi, water, and it's like, shut the F up, you know what I mean? It's just like an ongoing commentary of all these flowers talking to you. I don't know if that goes on through all the worlds, but I'm like, shut up. Is there like a verbosity slider, like there was for like
just instantly turn it down? All the flowers are just like, hi.
Yeah, because someone I read a Kotaku article where someone like modded the game and all those flowers are like telling Mario to F off and everything. That I'd play. So I might look into that if that is still around. So
that would be amazing.
Just drag and drop that file because that would be good. But yeah, I'm like, oh hi, shut up.
Yeah, there's been a bit of controversy around this game, in that
about the aristocrat.
No, not necessarily about the article, but more so that the review embargo was like yesterday, and that supposedly like
that's...
maybe video and streaming and stuff embargo is not up yet. And all of these content creators have kind of been like, hello, here is some stuff on Super Mario Brothers Wonder.
Right.
And then being like, you definitely didn't have access to this game. You've clearly pirated this and are streaming your pirated copy.
Well, that's
of
one
this
way
game.
to out yourself.
Yeah.
You got to be careful, like not talking about it on a podcast.
But like, I actually think that's why this insanity was written, was because the embargo was so poorly, like they wanted to release something earlier, and
Don't
so
give
they
them
just
away.
didn't say anything
That's
about the
no
game,
excuse.
right? Oh, I think
No.
it's insane, and I think it's no excuse, but I think it was informed by, I can't talk about the game, so I'll just say it's real good at the last 2 lines, and then say this whatever the hell I think.
Yep.
But the editor's like, we need 600 words so we can put as many adverts on this
Exactly, right.
web page. So just say something.
I mean,
And they were probably like, I don't want to. And then I'm going to write the stupidest thing ever about Mario then.
And they're like, I don't care, get me the ad.
it does open up the conversation about class conflict in Mario games. Going back to the 80s, of course, the downtrodden blue collar worker having to do fucking everything, and then Mario is now elevated into the middle classes and is just fucking stomping all over anyone lower than him, because of course he's married into money, and he's got kind of just inherited property now and shit.
He's clearly a textbook boomer, right? So
absolutely,
he climbs the ladder and then pulls it up. No one else gets to climb this ladder.
You know what? This article's great.
Toad's just down there like, I'll just stay here, shall I?
Talk about this.
I mean, the guy's got like a fine life, but what does he do? He runs around and breaks anything he can just in case there's fucking money in it, and it's for him.
No, that's Link.
Those coins are not going to anyone else. They're not going to...
It's all Nintendo games, isn't it? All Nintendo games, just the aspiration of wealth.
He's not reinvesting that money in the community, is he?
Absolutely
Don't see any of them Toads get extra lives.
No, absolutely not. Princess Peach kind of looks after them just out of sheer guilt, and Mario turns up and is like, "Fuck those Toads! Fuck those! We can snort all of this money."
Oh, you're making me hate Mario now.
He eats toads, right?
It's a delicacy.
I think it's just they're just babies, right? The mushrooms he eats to like get big or get free lives are just baby toads.
Toads make him more virile.
He's doing his thing, and Luigi's just sat on the sideline like, "Oh, it's a me," but it's not him ever.
No.
Oh no! Listen,
Wario is the king of class consciousness, is what we're trying to say, right?
At least he gave it 8.5. I mean, that seems alright. I might play it properly.
Yeah, we'll talk about it in maybe next week or something like that, when embargoes are up and people won't get in trouble for talking about the actual game itself.
I hate those goddamn flowers, man. Like, shut up.
Yeah, when you've played it through and it is just fuck you, Mario. Yeah, absolutely. That's when we'll talk about it. Let's finish there for this episode this week, and return to the beers that we have drank. Aadil, will come back to you for the Rochefort.
It's great. Find it.
Yes.
I want to.
Yeah, but hopefully we get to experience it very soon, dependent on schedules and if it's still available. The Northern Monk, then. It's fine. It's like the Callisto protocol of beers. It's fine. It's fine.
I thought it was much more harsh on like the Callisto protocol.
I'd found the Callisto protocol in like a sale in the supermarket for 20 quid, I would go, this is fucking brilliant. This game only cost me 20 quid. I brought it from the supermarket. This is great.
Yeah.
Right, so Callisto Protocol, the supermarket game.
Callisto Protocol is the supermarket version of Dead Space. basically. And Faith in Future's Northern Monk Smug Double Dry Hopped IPA is the supermarket version of a much better Patrons Project Northern Monk Smug beer. So yeah, buy your beer from bottle shops. Don't go to the fucking supermarket. I think we've proven that. Well, at least for my taste.
You definitely have. Yeah, you've carried that baton.
Yes, I've tried, but no, just to the bottle shop. Fuck it.
That's why it's like I see them. I'm just like, what's the point? Yeah. I'd rather put that money towards, a Trappist beer, an Orval, which I might get tomorrow.
Completely, but I'm spending I'm spending £3.50 in the supermarket. I could just spend £4 or £4.50, or even £5.50 in the bottle shop. Some of that money's going to an independent business and supporting them instead of just supermarket. And I'm getting a much better quality beer for that as well. So yeah. If anything from all of the supermarket beers that have been drank on this podcast tells you go to your bottle shop and buy beers from them. So that's it from us this week. They're the beers that we have drank in the games that we have been playing. If you want to talk to us about either of those things, we are at Tanked Up Cast on the socials. Lucy is
Juicy Loose 9 everywhere, including Substack.
Yes, and the Substack. Yes, absolutely. I haven't received an email recently. There's been no dearth of writing on the Substack recently.
I'm just like I having to just study. Who thought a data engineering course would actually have engineering concepts in it? Who'd have thought?
Actually got to learn some things.
Yeah, I mean, I'm enjoying the learning, but it's dense.
Fair.
Yeah, writing will resume in a couple of weeks.
Cool. And Aadil is?
At the Omnier.
And I'm at Nova_47. You can go to outlives.net to look at all of the things that we enjoy talking about. Other articles, you see our faces, you can see the beers that we've been drinking as well on the video version, which is over at outlives.net and at the YouTube page as well. Have either of you got anything to finish us out on for this episode?
Nah.
Space Harrier is hard.
Oh, yeah, Space Harrier. We'll have to talk about it next week when you've clearly beaten it twice.
No, I couldn't do it as a kid, and I had all the time then.
Mate, that's the thing, isn't it? Like, Master System, NES games into SNES and Mega Drive games, you couldn't save your progress. It's like, this game has to be an hour and a half long, but it has to take you 10 days to be able to progress through that entire hour and a half. Yeah. So they make these games as hard as possible to give you the longevity required. And there's a whole conversation around that versus the actual longevity of stories and games, and talking about the Callisto Protocol, how long that game was for no fucking reason. We can get into that maybe next week, but for this week, we've been Tanked Up. Thank you for joining us. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
www.outoflives.net